Hi, my name is Leasia and I have my, I always have to think, May books here. It's June now, so these are the books that I read during May. It's 4, there's a tiny one here in between. So yeah, let's see. First up was Kaikeyi. Beautiful cover, by the way, you just have to check it out. Oh my goodness. I love this cover. I'm obsessed with this cover. I could look at it forever. This is by Vaishnavi Patel. I believe it's a debut novel, but don't quote me on that. Maybe before I started, I should have said, so I was sick. So my voice is probably gonna sound a bit weird. But this is also why I'm late with this video again. But this time at least I have a real excuse. Okay, so now Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. I just want to try and say correctly, I'm not sure I did. So this is a cool story. It's like it takes the inspiration of an Indian epic about Rama and basically makes a prequel out of it in a sense, but using these like epic elements, and it's about the stepmother of Rama, and she's Kaikeyi, and she's now obviously the protagonist here, and it's like from her POV how it was for her growing up as a little girl, being the only daughter, and I think she has 7 or 8 brothers, I don't fully remember now. And then you just follow her, how life is for a princess like that, and when she gets married and has kids, and also it's a lot about her, like, because growing up with so many brothers, and her father not really paying any much attention to her because, well, she was the female, she wasn't really important. And so we also follow like her thought process, and in one of the early sentences in the book it says, I think I can never get used to that, like this kind of thing, like this kind of idea that women are less important. And so we have this strong woman kind of, and how when she like comes into power, or she marries quite a king of quite a big kingdom, and she's very smart and she's very rich, and she starts to be able to change some things and help some women, and it's beautiful. She's like really this powerful woman throughout the story, but not just like, she's not perfect. She's not like a Captain Marvel kind of BS, not in the least. She's very vulnerable, she makes a lot of mistakes, she has a temper that she needs to often wheel in a little bit, or she doesn't, and she has to deal with the repercussions. But I loved, I think it's a 5-star for me. I love this one so much. The ending was also very intriguing. I kind of sort of slightly knew in which direction it was going because I knew the Ramadan epic. So I wasn't fully surprised. But it was a nice twist, because in the Ramadan, like, she's in a sense the evil stepmother. And you just never have her POV, and you just accept it as a fact. And so I thought it was a really cool idea to twist this around and give her a backstory and explain what she actually was doing. And there's also, because we're in India epic, so we have gods in this world. We have some kind of magic, but not like fantasy type magic and things like that. So that's good to know. But to me, it wasn't like overly done. It was actually perfectly added into the story. So highly recommend, 5 stars. Kaikeyi. Next up was the mini book, which is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins. I think this was actually 3 stories: The Rocking Chair, and what was the other one? Yellow Wallpaper, Rocking Chair, and Old Water, right. It's basically 3 sort of horror stories, horror short stories, if you will. Yellow Wallpaper dealing with delirium and mental illness. I can't really say much more because they're such short stories. about a couple staying in a house for the summer, and the wife notices the yellow wallpaper, and in trying to get her well. The rocking chair was very interesting. Again, about a young couple this time. I think they were a couple, yeah, and just managing to get a room in like this old house where there's a rocking chair, and there's like two connecting rooms, and they each get one. And the rocking chair is like rocking a lot, and whenever they look up from the streets, there is a woman there, like the daughter of the landlady, if you will, or the owner of the house, and it's just rocking forth and back, and like both of them want to get to know this person, and they're like getting jealous with each other when one person manages to be home early and things like that, and then stuff spirals out. And the older one, Old Water, was very this is hard to not spoil. So it's about like this woman, she every morning she gets up and she canoes, and she like loves water, and she's really talented and elegant on the water with the canoe. And there's this guy that's completely infatuated with her, and does like all these compliments and all that jazz, and she's like, yeah, thank you, that's nice, but not at all interested. And then he kind of tries to force his point, and then things happen with the water. So yeah, it was actually very entertaining. Even though it's this tiny, there were like full stories, like you got all you needed. So I absolutely can recommend. So Charlotte Perkins Gilman, I think I forgot to say that. Yellow Wallpaper. The first book that I read is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I'm not sure. It says down here. So this is, you see that also here. I hate that when they do that. If I could remove it, I would. It's a Netflix series by now. So this is about Second World War. We follow. It's actually told in a very interesting way. We're like almost at the end of the story. That's where we begin, when in Saint Malo, which is the city here, is just about to be liberated by the Americans in the Second World War, at the end of the Second World War. And we have a blind girl, a French girl, who is in Saint Malo, and we have her POV. And then we also have a German soldier who's also in Saint Malo, who's working with radios and trying to find radio frequencies and things like that. And so we start like almost at the end of the story, when they're both in Saint Malo and the Americans are bombing and stuff. And then we go back to the very beginning, when they both were children, and she was first in Paris and he obviously was back in Germany. He grew up in an orphanage, which is like close to, like, there's like a mining town. I don't now remember the name of the town, I'm afraid. And his father died in a mine, so they became orphans. And everyone was like saying all the time, yeah, working in the mine, that's all you kids are meant for, because you live there in the orphanage of this mining town and things like that. But Werner is his name. Werner is like very curious, and he's very smart. So like when radios come out, he manages to take it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together. So he like truly and fully understands how they work. And so like he really has this extreme natural talent for radios. And then he like manages to find a frequency from France. And back in the days, people learned French because it was an important world language. So he could speak a little bit of French, and so he listened to this professor, as he called himself, on the French broadcast, who would like do lessons for children. And then we also go back to Marie-Laure, the French girl. She's also listening to. Or she's no, sorry. Now I did a mistake. That happens in the Netflix show, but not in the book. No, but she turns blind. She begins when we meet her, she can still see, but the eyes are going bad, and then she turns blind. And there's this huge focus on her and her dad, and how he teaches her to like still be able to go through their neighborhood in Paris. He builds this mini model out of wood so that if her hands can feel okay. And he adds like trees and signposts and everything. It's absolutely amazing in detail, so she can exactly know from her house like where to get, how to get to places and things like that. And there's a big focus on her and her dad. Her dad works in a museum, and when she goes blind, he just takes her with him, and then she can be there and she can read. She got the Braille book, A Thousand Leagues Under the Sea. I think that was the second book. I think he gave her another one first. I don't remember now. Wasn't it the Around the World book? Something like that. So anyway, I'm spending so much time, but these are good books. So we follow along their lines, but then it keeps going back to the now and updating there just a tiny bit, often like only 2-3 pages. I kind of liked it. So then we get an update on the liberation of Saint Malo, and then boom, we go back to now they're 10 years old, and then we go back to Saint Malo and we have another 2-3 pages. And so the plot thickens, and like, so some things you already know, but you have no idea how to get there. For example, how does Werner get there if he's to be a miner? So obviously he didn't become a miner. There was a general or officer or lieutenant or some kind of military rank dude who had a wife whose radio broke, and then they heard about this kid in the orphanage who's very talented with radios, and so he does fix it. And then of course he gets marked as being a special child, and goes into this extreme, crazy, brutal school where you have like, you have like school, but it's like a military school basically, where they also are like etched against each other, that they're supposed to fight and like, not fight, I mean compete against each other, and I mean they do even fight. And then there's this extremely horrible game that the slowest person or the weakest person, someone has to nominate the weakest person, and then that person has to run for their life because all the other ones will try to catch them, and if they do, they get like punished, and it's brutal. And he has to go through that, and he's like he's more a gentleman. He's also in the book described as rather small for his age. And and obviously a person in his mind, a genius, but he still has to go for it, though he has slight protection, because when the dude that is working with radios then discovers that his talent is for real, he has to go work for him even at the school already, and they design a new radio that's even better and can find frequencies and so on. And so in the end, Werner becomes this guy who can like locate other broadcasts, and through like a triangular calculation, he can figure out exactly where they are, and that then becomes his role in the war as a soldier. So with the radio equipment, he's supposed to find foreign broadcasts, or in general illegal broadcasts, and point them out, and then the Gestapo went in and did their thing. In the book, he never goes in when that happens, only afterwards to collect radio parts and other parts that they can salvage, but obviously he knows and he sees what they did, and so and so you can really read, like, what I like in the books, you can really, because you're in their heads, you really read or guilt, or specifically Werner, of course, and you can really feel with him. And I have to say, the Netflix series is quite a bit different. It's still the same story-ish, but also not. It's very hard to say without like spoiling and explaining exactly what is different. The one thing about Marie that I said earlier. And also back to Marie, so in the museum that her dad works, they also have like precious stones. It's Museum of History, I think. So they have like stones throughout history that belong to France, and one of them is infamous. It's a special diamond, a blue diamond, which has a hue of red, the Flame of Seas it's called, and it has like this legend attached to it that whoever has it is invulnerable and can't die, but the ones close to that person will instead suffer. is what is said. And so there is this hint that maybe her dad had touched the stone at the museum, and that's why Marie went blind. I personally don't think so, because the stone was never presented. It was kept on the lock in a safe. But anyway, so when then the Germans came and they had to flee Paris, the museum devised a plan to try and so they made decoys and they gave the decoys and the real one to people. And Marie's dad had one of them, but he himself, no one knew who had the real one and who had the decoy. And so they flee, and in the end they end up in Saint Malo, where they have an uncle, or Marie's great uncle, in fact, and who is like not doing well because he has World War One post-traumatic issues, and he never leaves the house. He's afraid to go out. When he can look up into the sky, he just imagines all sort of terrible things, and he gets a panic, and he just can't do it. But then Marie needs to learn a new city, so again her dad builds another model, which is absolutely incredible. So he measures, he goes around and builds the model, and Marie tries to learn, and but so Marie is always a little bit pushy with her great uncle Etienne, that like even she is going out even though she's blind and things like that. And it's a very cute relationship, and she's also very interested in the radio that Etienne has, which is also the one in the Netflix series, where he can also broadcast. So he has a huge broadcast equipment with antenna and everything. And it turns out that, oh no, I shouldn't say that. I forgot, I don't do spoilers. Okay, scratch that. So we're then in Saint Malo, and of course, as I said, Werner after the school, even too early, they bump his years, 2 years, he's 16. They just change his passport and say, no, you're 18 now, and he's forced to join the military. And from then on, he drove through Ukraine, he was in Austria, and eventually he ends up in France, and eventually he ends up in Saint Malo, where they have to find this broadcast, which Etienne and the women are like trying to give coordinates for the Americans, so they know where the Germans have their little bases inside Saint Malo. And I don't think I can say much more. I think I've already talked way too much maybe, but really good book. It's bittersweet, I guess. I think it's a 4.5 for me. Okay, one more. I can do this. And this is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Oh my god, I love this cover. I don't know why it's so simplistic, but I'm in love with this cover. It's love it. Okay, this is so cute. Is it YA? I think it's considered YA. We have 20-year-old Doerr, who has half a soul because when she was a kid, a fairy, so this is a story with fairies, where although we are in London, basically came and tried to steal her soul, but her cousin interrupted it with silver scissors by just stabbing him, that little tiny girl, stabbing like a scary fairy, I guess, and so she only lost half her soul. But because of that, she has like difficulty to express her feelings or emotions, because part of that got just sucked away and she just doesn't feel it. And it's just so funny in the beginning, because sometimes she's like, yeah, I think normal people will worry at this point. And I don't know, it was just so cute and so it's so dear to me. And basically, so we then follow Dora and her cousin, with who she lives, because she has no parents anymore, and the mystery of how she lost half her soul, and especially her cousin, and she just tries to give her back or help her to get back to her other half of the soul. And there's this Lord Sorcier, so basically a mage who's at court, and he's in their age range, and so the cousin says like she wants to go to London for season, to find a husband, but in truth, she just hopes to be able to talk to this Lord Saucier so he can help fix her cousin. Oh, it's just so precious. It's so cute. And so we go through courting season, ball season, with Dora being, yeah, not exactly a normal woman, and also in the eyes you can see it, because it's like one eye is normal and the other eye is like grayish, because I guess, yeah, it even sucked out the color when she lost her soul. And that's also why the I don't remember her name, the mother of the cousin, is like slightly not very happy with Dora, also because Dora is like, I guess, weird, because you can see it, you can see that she's not normal. And so yeah, so they meet different families, rich families, and the Lord Sorcerer, who is very disagreeable and very rude and not interested in anything really except himself. And we just follow them along and figuring out what happened to Dora. But then also suddenly a plague hits, a sleepy plague, where only children fall asleep all of a sudden, and they don't wake up anymore, and then they die because they don't eat. So then we have the mystery on top of it. So I don't know, it's just, to me, I 5 stars. I love this. I read this at the exact right moment. I loved it so much. It was so cute and so funny. I had to laugh several times, and it's so well done at the same time. It's also really well written. It's good prose, and and like the characters are very well fleshed out, and also Dora is very believable, which must be challenging, because like you constantly need to remind yourself she lost part of her soul, so she's not going to react like normal people. So you can't just always make an excuse that, oh, but she knows she's supposed to say that, and that's why she says it. Like, she does think like that sometimes, which also makes sense, but like it's really deep, really well crafted characters. So I really love that a lot as well. So yeah, I think I think I've talked long enough. So those were my 4 books that I read in May. I already forget it again. So yeah, sorry for being late. I'm still trying to get more healthy, but it's gonna be soon. So bye, see ya.